Let's talk about tools. To achieve the desired look that you want, you need to have the right tools and you need to be using the right tools. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the makeup brushes that I use. This is my brush set. I got this from Morphe and I've had this bag for I think 6 years now. So if you get a good brush set, it will last you a long time. And I know Morphe has some good ones, but there are other brands that have good brush sets. Now, all of the brushes in this bag were not included or were not in the bag when I got them. Over the years, I've added some just because I needed to have more brushes. But if you have a good brush set, that would do. If you don't, I know that people sell a couple of brushes that you need. I'm going to be showing you the ones that you need. So if you cannot afford to buy like a full brush set, you can just handpick some of the brushes. I know Shein has some good brushes that you can pick one by one and just buy them. So when you want to apply your skin prep, you need a flat brush like this. See how flat it is? Sometimes I go in with my hand to apply my moisturizers, my serums, my toners, but when I'm working on a client, I use a brush. And if you do not want to use your hand, you can use a flat brush like this. So it makes for easy application on your face, like to pick up the product and just press it in. With moisturizers, serums, you're pressing that into your skin. So this is, see how the bristles are? They are together and they are flat. So this is what you need. When applying foundation, I use a brush like this. See the bristles? I call this a dense brush because the bristles are so close together. It's almost like this brush is for placing product. Like when you use this type of brush, a dense brush, and the surface is kind of flat, when you use a brush like this and pick up foundation, when you're applying it, you remember when you're applying your foundation, you're not dragging it, you're pressing it in. So with this type of brush, when you're pressing it in, you're putting product on your face in one part of your face or on one part of your face, and this brush helps you to press that product onto your skin. So it's not spreading the product everywhere, it's just ensuring that wherever you place that product, that's where it's going to stay. And because the bristles are so close together, it helps you to like tap your product in. You're just tapping, as opposed to a brush like this. This one is a fluffy brush, this is a powder brush. When you use this type of brush, your goal is to evenly distribute the product on your face. So that's why you use this type of brush for powder application. So when applying your powder, you're dipping into your powder and just applying that on your face. Now this brush helps you to evenly spread the powder on your face because it's a fluffy brush. The bristles are not dense, they're kind of like spread out, and there's space. See how it feels? There's space in between the brushes, so it helps you to evenly distribute like a powder all over your face, as opposed to this one. I wouldn't use this brush, this one, to apply powder because that's not what it was made for. So this is a type of brush you can use for applying your foundation. Now, I have this brush. This is almost like this one. It's just that this one is smaller. So this is a contour brush. I would use this. It's dense, but it's smaller than the foundation brush. And that's not to say that you cannot use the foundation brush to apply your contour. In most cases, when I'm doing my makeup or even when I work on clients, I use one brush because I mean it's efficient. So after I'm done applying my foundation, I know that I'm done with the foundation step. I can just easily use the same brush to apply contour, because when you're applying your contour too, you also want to use a dense brush. So, but if you want to be extra, you can use a different brush. Just ensure that it's dense as well. You don't want to use a fluffy brush to apply your um, contour, because you want to put that. Remember, when you're contouring, you're applying your contour in specific places on your face, so you want to be able to apply that product and blend it but still maintain like the position. You don't want to spread out the product to other places, so that's why I use a dense brush. This is a smaller one. You can use it for contour. If you don't have so many brushes, you can still use your foundation brush. So foundation brush, contour. Now I also have this brush. When you buy a brush set, sometimes you would get this type of brush in your brush set. This is also a contour brush. You can use it. It's dense to like it's together, and it's kind of straight, so it helps to contour your cheeks. Like when you apply contour on your, it just helps to blend that in, and they made it in a way that it's easy to use because it's already straight, so you just blend it in and you're done. So this is also a contour brush. If you don't get this brush in your brush set, I'm sure you would get this one, but if you don't, if you're buying the brushes separately, look out for a brush like this, or you can just stick to using the foundation brush for your contour. Now this is a powder brush. You can see how fluffy it is, but it's a smaller one. So always remember, when you're looking for a brush for powder, it should be a fluffy brush. Same as this one. This is a fluffy brush. This is a powder brush as well. And this type of brushes, you can use them to apply both your powder, your blushes, and your bronzers. Like when you're bringing warmth back to your face, you can use this type of brushes. Most people like to use an angled brush for things like that, and that's where this type of brush comes in. So they made it angled so that it helps to place the product where you want it to be, on your cheeks, for example. So this is also a fluffy brush. This is a fluffy brush. This is a fluffy brush. This is what I would use to apply my blush and my bronzer. I don't use my powder brush to apply my bronzer or my blush. Most times I use this angled brush because it just helps me to place the product where I want, because of how the brush is shaped, like it's angled, so it helps in your application. So this is when you're looking for a brush to buy something that is angled like this but it's fluffy. So this is a blush brush, a bronzer brush. Now I have this small brush. I use this to blend out my concealer. So when I place concealer on my forehead, on my under my eyes, this is what I go in with to blend. Because it's small, it can reach the inner corners of your eye. And the advantage of using a brush as opposed to a beauty sponge is that when you use a brush, the product, like the brush does not pick up as much product, or it doesn't pick up as much product as a sponge would. A sponge would soak up most of your product, not most, but it will soak up a lot of your product. But a brush would just basically just blend out the product but leave it there. So that's why people like to use a small brush like this. It gives you more coverage. That's what I'm trying to say. It gives you more coverage. So when looking for a brush to use a small brush. This one is an angled brush. Some people use a brush like this. This is not angled, but it's still like small and soft. So you can use any of these brushes, but I like to use this one because it's angled and it just helps you to blend. And remember, when you're blending, you're doing that in tapping motions, and also you're not using so much force, you're not pressing it, you're just tapping lightly. So this is what I will use for my concealer. Now these are my eyeshadow brushes, and your eyeshadow brushes are supposed to be fluffy small brushes, but this is not as fluffy as the rest of them. I would use a brush like this when I'm trying to, let's say you're trying to create a cut crease, or you already applied found eyeshadow and you just want to blend it out with a darker color to create dimension. You would use a brush like this to place it, because like you want to place it in a specific place. You don't want the eyeshadow to be spread out all over your eye. You would use a smaller brush that is a little bit dense, but when it comes to blending out the eyeshadow, you want to use a brush like this. It helps to easily blend out your product on your eye. So I have 3 of these. Actually, I have more. They are just in my bag. So eyeshadow brushes, you need them. I use this to blend out my contour on my nose because it's a small brush and it's flat. So I use this. Another one that you can get is something like this. This is also a flat. This is a flat brush. It was made for contour, like contouring your nose, and they already made it angled so that it's easy to just, you know, contour your nose all the way from your eyebrows down to the bridge of your nose. So I either use this one or I use this one. This is not angled, but it's flat and it helps me get the job done. A brush like this, I would use it to blend out my concealer. So after I clean up my brows, you want to go in and clean that up, like blend out the concealer on your eyelid. You just don't want to leave it there like that. So I would use a brush like this because it's easy to use and you can just go in and clean it up and you're done. I use this brush to apply powder underneath my eyes. So after I'm done highlighting, that's blending out my concealer and doing everything, like setting my face, when I'm done with my eyeshadow and I'm finishing up my makeup, I go in with this brush. So I just dip it in my powder and I use that to blend out underneath my eyes because it's soft and it's small, so it helps to reach the inner corners of your eye. Remember, I said you can either use this, you can also use it to blend out your concealer, you can use it to apply powder, but because I have 2 of them, I like to use the angled one for concealer, for blending out the concealer, then I use this one to apply my powder. And of course, you need a good beauty sponge. This one is very soft to the touch. You need one that is really soft, and before you use it, you run it under water, you squeeze out the water and still use a paper towel to squeeze out the excess water. Then when you're done blending out your foundation with the foundation brush, I like to go back in with my beauty sponge because a beauty sponge gives you very flawless look and I like that type of look. So if you're trying to achieve very flawless and seamless application, I encourage using a beauty sponge. It would give you a very good finish. Also, when I blend out my concealer with this brush, I go back in with my beauty sponge. When I blend out my contour with either this brush or this brush, I go back in with my beauty sponge. Basically, the beauty sponge is like 2-factor authentication. You're trying to blend out everything, and in makeup, blending is key. So for this one, this is a powder puff. You would see how I use it in the upcoming videos. I like to just have it, hold it here and do my brows or like continue the rest of my face so that I'm not pressing my skin against my face and leaving marks. So I use this to ensure that I'm not spoiling, because I do my skin work first before I go in with before I do my eyeshadow application. So I like to just have this here to prevent any marks on my face. Also, some people I also do the same thing. Sometimes I'll go in with a powder puff to apply my powder. It gives a good finish as well. So these are the brushes that you need. You need a good foundation brush. Now I'm just recapping. You need a good foundation brush. You need a contour brush. If you're trying to get more brushes, you need foundation, contour brush, a blush brush, a powder brush, a beauty sponge, your eyeshadow brushes, and also you need, I forgot to mention, you need a flat brush like this, very small, for your lips, to apply your lipsticks, lip products. You would use a small flat brush like this. And you need another flat brush. It's not here, but I'll show you in the other video. You need another flat brush to clean out your brows. So when you're done drawing your brows and you're cleaning it with the concealer, you need a flat angled brush. To be honest, it doesn't have to be angled, but it has to be flat, and you need to get a good one. So this section has covered the tools, and we'll proceed to the next video and I'll show you how I use each of these tools.